So a couple things that I kind of just want to start off talking to you about is one of the things that is so important and so impactful in our children's lives is going to be nutrition. There's so many ways that we need to incorporate nutrition into our life to not only make it incorporated into our daily lifestyle, but make sure that it's something sustainable as well. Is this the clicker? Okay. So does what I eat really impact my health? And the answer is absolutely. Maybe not in this context, but in the context of our real actual day-to-day life. So ultimately, I believe that food is fuel. You wouldn't put cheap fuel in a Ferrari, right? We're going to put the best gas in our tank as possible to keep our vehicles running efficiently. And our bodies are the same way. Our bodies are machines, and we have to feed them as such. We have to not only exercise, but feed them in a way that's going to help us to execute our day-to-day life the best way possible. Okay, so Dr. Beard kind of touched on this a little bit already. Every time we eat or drink something, we're either feeding disease or fighting it. And that's so critical. And I believe that at the Heart Hospital, we really do embrace that. Food is medicine, and we've talked about that a lot today. And that's something that I feel like the Heart Hospital does very, very well. So food is medicine, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like specifically. Some of the things that I wanted to talk with you guys about today is how do we eat healthy? There's a lot of trends out there that, it's hard to keep up with. Nutrition's one of those things that's always changing. What is healthy? What's the best diet to follow? What is sustainable? What's going to work? What's not going to work? And there's just a lot of questions. So these are some of the diet trends that we're going to talk about today. Just to kind of give you a little bit, these are the ones that I get most asked about. So this is just kind of give you some information to figure out what's going to be best for you, what's going to be best to fit in with your busy lifestyle. So first off is the ketogenic diet. And basically what the ketogenic diet is it is high fat, moderate protein, and low carbohydrates. So there are a few different variations of the ketogenic diet, but typically about 70% of your calories should come from fat, about 20% from protein, and then 5 to 10% is coming from carbohydrates. We do have some cardiologists who recommend this at the Heart Hospital, and in certain avenues, this could be appropriate for somebody. The ketogenic diet was originally developed for people who have epilepsy as a way to kind of treat their seizures. But with proper monitoring, being followed by your physician, having your lipids checked regularly, this could be something that could be beneficial for you. Next is intermittent fasting. Has anybody ever heard of that one? Yeah? Okay. So intermittent fasting is basically you progress towards, you start, I believe, with fasting for 8 hours and eventually work your way up to fasting for 20 hours. And so then you have a 4-hour window where you are not restricted on calories, you're not restricted on what you can or cannot eat, and it's basically a metabolic process that kind of goes on in your gut. Your body produces leptin and ghrelin, and the intermittent fasting is supposed to suppress those hormones so that you don't feel as hungry. Like Dr. Beard mentioned, your brain and your gut, they talk all the time, and it's constantly releasing hormones telling you, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, I'm full. And by suppressing those appetite triggers, that's one way that you're not going to feel as hungry. You're not going to have those cravings for that sugar and different things like that. And ultimately, a lot of people lose weight, and they're pretty successful on it. Okay, a juice cleanse. This is one of those things that I believe we have teeth for a reason, and that's just a personal preference. I like meat, and I like vegetables, and I like to chew my food. So, to each his own, but I feel like personally a juice cleanse is maybe just a calorie deficit. It may not be one of the best ways to lose weight. A detox diet's kind of the same thing. In the dietitian world, we have a joke is that we're all built to detox, and your liver does that automatically for you, so why would you want to intentionally drink something that's going to detox your body? So again, that's probably just more of a calorie deficit than anything. Okay, gluten-free. I feel like this is one that I get a lot of questions about the most, especially working with the diabetes population. What gluten is basically is it's a protein that's in flour, and when somebody has an intolerance or an allergy to that gluten, they just take the gluten out. Just because something is gluten-free does not make it carbohydrate-free, okay? And that's, again, just I feel like a big misconception that people have. So unless you do have some sort of allergy or intolerance to gluten, there's really not much of a benefit to cutting gluten out, other than maybe just avoiding some of those more processed carbohydrate foods, which we all need to avoid anyway. Okay, paleo. Have you guys heard of paleo diet? Yeah, I feel like this is one of the more common ones. It's also known as the caveman diet, okay? So basically what the paleo diet is you're getting back to eating real food, getting foods that come from the earth, okay? So it's foods in their most natural form. This is one that I've done some in the past, and I feel like it's a very sustainable lifestyle choice. You're basically cutting out grains, sugar, and dairy, with the exception of natural sugars such as honey, molasses, agave, things like that, which still need to be done in moderation. And then it also focuses on the high and low glycemic index. So it recommends foods that, basically the glycemic index is foods and how quickly they break down into sugar in our bodies. So something that's a low glycemic index might be something like berries or a citrus fruit, whereas something that's high glycemic index might be something like a potato or a banana that's going to break down into sugar a little bit more quickly and spike that blood sugar up. So this is mainly just focusing on meat, fruits, and veggies. Again, that low glycemic index, you're cutting out those starches, those grains, that dairy, and then, of course, sugar. Okay, and Whole30 is also very similar to paleo from my experience. I feel like the only difference there is that you're not limited on the high and low glycemic index, and you're not allowed to have the even natural sweeteners. They recommend not doing that. So, but I've actually tried Whole30 in the past, and I really enjoyed it. I was very successful on it, and I do feel like it's a sustainable lifetime trend to follow. Okay, so I know that you guys were given Dr. Mark Hyman's, a couple of his books, is that right? Has anybody read any of those yet? Okay, yeah. So Dr. Hyman actually came and spoke at our Heart Summit last year, and it was phenomenal. It was so interesting to listen to him speak. And one of the diet or the lifestyle that he follows is what he calls pegan, which is basically a paleo vegan. Okay, so he does eat some foods like fish and things like that, but for the most part, I believe that he's focusing mainly on those fruits and veggies, low fat meats, leaner cuts of meat, and then of course doing things sparingly, because I do feel like one of the biggest things when you are choosing a diet lifestyle to follow, you need to make sure that, I feel like I say the word sustainable 100 times a day, but you need to make sure it's sustainable to you. I'm even though I'm a dietitian, I'm not perfect. I still like chocolate chip cookies just as much as the next girl, and every once in a while, that's okay. And so I think that his approach to having those sorts of things sparingly is a big key to what's going to make something like that sustainable. To not restrict yourself to the point that you're going to just say to heck with it and throw the rule book out the window one day when you're having a bad day. It needs to be able to be incorporated into your lifestyle and be something that you are going to be able to sustain long term. Okay, and then clean eating. This is one of those, what I call a food fad word, because what does the word clean eating actually mean? One of the things I don't like about it is that it's so subjective, is that everybody may have a different idea of what clean eating looks like and what clean eating might be. Overall, we just basically need to get back to the baseline of eating real food, okay? Eating food in its most natural form is what we're after. Okay, and what that looks like, that's going to be your lean meats, fruits and veggies, getting in that water. Fiber is going to be a big way to incorporate not only gut health, but to help you fill up and be more full and satisfied with your meals. There are two different types of fiber. There's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber, I teach my patients that soluble sucks. It pulls water into that GI tract, and it expands and causes you to fill up. So that's going to be things like your oatmeal, your grains, things of that nature. Whereas insoluble fiber, it works almost like a scraping tool. So think of that as like your apple peels, your more roughage, things like your kale, spinach, green leafies, that sort of thing. And we want to make sure that we're getting at least 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day. Okay, and then of course we want to drink more water. And then mindful eating is something that I kind of wanted to touch on with you guys as well. Mindful eating is basically eating with intention while paying attention. And mindful eating is one of those things that it's very up and coming in the dietitian world right now. It's actually been around since the 80s. It was developed by 2 registered dietitians, and it focuses on not only focusing on how your food is prepared, but how it tastes, being more appreciative and thankful for your meals, being more mindful of where that food came from, who prepared that, where was it grown, different things like that. And this is one that I specifically use this slide in the classes that I teach, and I think it's just spot on with being able to notice physical hunger versus emotional hunger. Is anybody in here a stress eater other than me? Okay, yep, there we are. And so this is one way that I've even noticed myself kind of going through and asking myself some of these questions. If it's a physical hunger, that's an actual need, okay? Your body is telling you that it needs food, it needs sustenance. And that's going to be gradual. It's going to be more open to different types of foods. You're going to have probably some physical hunger pangs. That stomach growling is going to be one. And you're able to stop eating when you're full. Whereas emotional eating comes on quick. It's going to be something specific. For me, it's a chocolate chip cookie. It's urgent, and it's usually paired with some sort of emotion. So just being able to differentiate between the two of those, I feel like, is a big step in the right direction. Because if you know and you're aware and you're able to address those differences, then you're able to do something about it and be proactive about it. And like we've talked about multiple times today, it's all about choices, day-to-day choices. And food is one of those things that you can't get around it. You're going to encounter it multiple times a day. And so you have to make those choices every single day to provide your body with good food that's going to fuel your body. Okay, so here's the 10 mindful eating questions, and I believe we have these on a handout for you guys, maybe? Okay, yes. Okay, perfect. Sue has these for you. So you'll be able to have these 10 questions with you, fold them up, keep them in your purse, pull them out when you feel like you might need it until you memorize them. But just some things to kind of ask yourself is, do I tend to stop eating when I'm full? Do I eat when I'm hungry rather than emotional? Do I pick at my food? Do I taste each bite before reaching to the next? There have been studies that have shown that putting down that fork between bites has actually shown to make you feel full faster, because if you have to pick up that fork every single time, your body's going to feel like it's getting more nutrition than maybe you're actually taking in. So you're going to fill up, you're going to be more aware of that feeling, and you're going to be able to stop eating a little bit sooner than if you were just continuing to eat without setting that fork down. And then thinking about how nourishing that food is for your body, being non-judgmental of yourself when you do, occasionally make a little bit of an impulsive choice and maybe do have that chocolate chip cookie. Make sure that you're not multitasking when you're eating, not watching TV, not, corralling kids, that sort of thing, which I'm sure is a hard thing for you guys, especially on your lunch breaks. Being able to leave some food on your plate if you don't want it. Eating slowly, making sure to chew each bite, and then recognizing when you are slipping into that mindless eating zone. So hopefully these questions, if you use them more and more, you'll be able to become a little bit more aware of those, and hopefully they'll be able to serve you well in the long run. And this is something that I also use with my patients that I teach in class, is our hunger scale. And that's basically, so we want to stay somewhere between the 5 and 7 range, okay? When we get to the 0 to 3, that's what I like to call hangry, okay? And you're not very pleasant to, or I'm not very pleasant to be around when I get to that point. And usually at that point, you're just ravenous. You're just trying to get something in your mouth as quickly as possible, right? And you're not really concerned with making good choices at that point. So if we can stay somewhere between 4 and 7, 4 is where that you kind of start to feel that hunger. 5 is where you're neutral, you could eat something. 6 is you're just starting to get satisfied. And then 7 is I'm completely satisfied. When we start to get into that 8 to 10 range, that's where we get what I call Thanksgiving Day full, where you're just miserable. And so being aware of kind of where you are before your meal and being aware of where you are maybe middle way through your meal, and then again after your meal, just to make sure that you have eaten enough, that you haven't eaten too much or too little. But this can definitely be a way, again, just that mindfulness of being more aware of how much you're eating and when your body's telling you that it's full. Okay? Don't reward yourself with food. We're not dogs. So when you have a really good week at school, or when you're, celebrating or whatnot, that's totally fine. But if you, accomplished your goal of walking 3 times for 30 minutes a week, for a week, don't reward yourself with a piece of cake. Go get yourself a manicure, go get your hair done, whatever that might look like for you. Guys, I don't know what you guys do for fun. I like to get my nails done. That's usually my reward, but okay. And so I've actually had a psychologist tell me before that if everybody would just eat right, exercise, and get enough sleep, that he would be out of a job. And I think that that's so true. Food is one of our most abused antidepressants, and exercise is one of the most underutilized. So and I know that that's hard. It's so much easier said than done. But if we again, just fueled our body with the right sources of energy that we need, we would feel so much better. If we took 30 minutes a day to do something for ourselves, to exercise, to go for a walk, take a lap around the neighborhood, all of those things are going to serve us and our health in the long run. Okay, and so here's this, that dreaded, I don't have time to exercise. I thought this was funny. I named my dog 5 Miles so I can tell people I walk 5 miles every day. So instead of saying that we don't have time, try saying it's not a priority. That one stings a little bit more, doesn't it? Yeah, that carries a little bit more weight. And so it's about making those day-to-day choices. It's about making eating healthy food a priority. It's about making that exercise routine a regular priority in your life. And just to kind of put it into perspective a little, a 1-hour workout is only 4% of your day. When you think about it like that, it's really not a lot. So no excuses. And then here's the last thing, and this is probably the key to it all, is just to keep it stupid simple. Prioritize, plan, prepare. Like Dr. Murphy was talking about, you have to have a plan, and it has to be fun because it's going to have to be sustainable for your lifestyle. Choose foods in their most natural form. Water, 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 that's a big one. Don't stuff, don't starve. Find that middle ground in your mindfulness of your eating habits. Do something that's going to benefit your health every single day, and think of progress, not perfection. It is a day-to-day process, and that perfect practice makes perfect progress, something like that. So it's a day-to-day thing. So just ultimately know that you've got it. As long as you're still making plans and making steps in the right direction, that's a win in my book. So are there any questions? I wanted to leave a few minutes to maybe answer some of the questions that you guys had about those trends, those diet trends. Is there anything that you guys have questions about that you've tried or maybe wondered about? No? Wow. Yeah.
One of the teachers have no time for a school day. They're trapped in the classroom with kids. And I think that's something. I think that's something that you might have an opportunity to work through is how do you address these healthy eating lifestyles during the course of a school day in a logical way that kind of breaks through some of the, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this, things that have been done.
Yeah.
It's complicated when you talk about what you presented.
Right.
The actual work day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do think that, meal planning is one of the best things that you can do. I always have anywhere from 1 to 3 snacks on me at all times, just because I don't know what my day's going to look like from day to day. I travel to our satellite clinics, and I want to always make sure that should I, have to skip lunch or something like that, that I'm going to have a healthy snack on my person so that I know that I don't have to be forced with making maybe an unhealthier choice, because I know what my meals and what my snacks are going to look like as much as possible. And that's just one easier way to be more successful. So, any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.